Many years ago, I heard a preacher presenting the gospel and urging his hearers to come to Christ. And he said, God has cast his vote. Satan has cast his vote. You have the deciding vote. Well, aside from asking who gave Satan a vote, a question we ought to ask is, how do you get the deciding vote? And if you do have the deciding vote, how in the world do you cast it? In Romans 1, Paul says that in their unrighteousness, men suppress the truth in unrighteousness. It's like if you watch a child in a pool with this big inner tube that's filled with air and they're trying to hold it down under the surface of the water. It wants to pop back up, but they're doing their best to hold it down. He's saying that's basically what man in his fallen condition is like. He is self-deceived, and he is self-deceived in a very culpable sense. He is holding back God's truth. Well, if that's the case, how does he stop? What will stop you from rejecting and holding back and keeping blinders on in terms of the truth of God? And the answer to that is that you can't do it in and of yourself. God himself is the one who has to change your heart. He has to open the eyes of your understanding and help you to see who he is, help you to see the truth that is all around you. It's not that the objective truth is not available for you. The reality of God, his deity, his goodness, and all those things, Paul says in Romans 1, are clearly seen from the creation. But you interpret them in a different way because you're suppressing his truth in unrighteousness. What overcomes this is the sovereign work of God. That's the only thing that can overcome it. Paul says in Ephesians 1 that those who belong to Christ are predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to the counsel of his will. If God does not work, then nothing happens. You can be presented with the facts of the resurrection. You can be presented with all kinds of arguments, but you will not receive them in your heart unless God removes that blindness, that veil of darkness that overshadows you. This is why Paul goes on in the second chapter of Ephesians to say, by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God. The whole thing, faith, salvation, grace, this is all God's gift. It's not something that you generate from within. You were dead in trespasses and sins, Paul has just said. Grace through faith that God alone can give in his sovereign act. This is the source of all salvation.